Wonderful. We're live on both platforms. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And if you see someone in the background, that's my daughter. She's still sleeping. So today we're talking about when your kids see you fail and now you're afraid if they'll ever see you win. And this is a personal story about how my own failures have affected my own visibility and created visibility wounds, and how I've overcome my fears of being seen as a failure, especially in the eyes of the people that I love the most, and how those failures also affected how I show up for my business, how I show up in front of my clients, how I show up for myself when it comes to my own personal goals. And this is for you if you are someone that has also failed big in front of the people that you love the most. And now you're wanting to receive recognition for your gifts. Now you're wanting to be visible. Now you're wanting to step into the spotlight. Now you're wanting to create that magnetic presence that attracts soulmate clients, that attracts soul aligned opportunities, that makes you feel like you're excited to wake up to. And you are still overcoming that feeling of failure that at one point almost made you feel like you'd never recover. And let's get started. So we talk about the fear of success and how seeing ourselves become that person is scary. Yet, what about when your kids have watched you lose everything? And if you've been following me for some time, I've shared a story about how me and my kids lived in Airbnbs, how we lived in hotels, and eventually lived with family because my business failed. And I had some health issues, and it was around the time COVID was at its like peak around 2021 and going into 2022. And, my kids saw me broken, struggling, surviving instead of thriving. And I shouldn't say COVID was at its peak at 2021, but you know what I mean? 2020 going through 2021, and people were still overcoming the effects of that. So that being said, my kids saw me broken, struggling, surviving, and not thriving. And now we've built our lives up to a point where we have a level of sustainability. My daughter is at one of the top high schools in the nation, a public high school. We live in the Bay Area now, and she goes to cheer. And my other daughter, and she's also 15 today. Oh my gosh, she just turned 15 today. And then my other daughter, who's 8, she used to have no friends because she would spend all of her days literally on an iPad waiting for me to get my stuff together in the house. And now she has friends. Now she has friends knocking on our door asking when they can come out. She can come out and play. And I'm talking about all kinds of friends, okay? I hear my door knocking all the time and doorbells ringing all the time for her. And this comes from a time of not having that and now having that. And now we're on the precipice of building this beautiful life. We're still putting the building blocks together. And still there's this haunting question. Can they ever see me as a success when they witness some of my greatest failures and when they have suffered because of some of my greatest failures? So if you are someone that has failed monumentally in front of the people that you love the most and we're depending on you, and you're wondering, how can they ever see me as someone capable of winning? If I do all of this work to gain all of this recognition from strangers, will I ever truly gain the recognition from the people that I love and who love me the most? And I understand the shame of failing in front of the people who matter creates like an energetic wound, a visibility wound that blocks your magnetic presence. And I understand what it means and how it feels to carry the frequency of failure. And even in moments of success, how because of that frequency of failure, it affects your identity. And you go back to those moments of when you were failing and when you were struggling. For me, I go back to those moments of being in that hotel room, being in that Airbnb. And there's moments where that comes back in my body and I feel it viscerally. And it's like, okay, how can I feel confident in knowing that I can create a level of sustainability now when that moment still lives in my body? And when that happens, and I'm sure that's happened to you at some point if you have failed monumentally, is your nervous system remembers the fear, the uncertainty, the weight of disappointing the people that you love the most. And this creates an invisible barrier between you and the recognition that you deserve. And you're unconsciously dimming your light because a part of you still believes you're that person that failed. And your energetic blueprint is coded with, I let people down, which makes you play small, even when you're winning big. And you're attracting opportunities from a place of proving that you're worthy instead of knowing, which keeps you in hustle mode rather than magnetic attraction. And your kids, the people that you love the most, they can feel that uncertainty about your worth. And that then creates confusion about how they should see you and creates confusion about how they should see themselves. And I know the feeling of having visibility wounds because of my own failures and my kids watching me fail big. So I'm speaking from a place of experience. And I know how it feels for people that you love to pay the price of your mistakes, and how that instability, that fear, and that survival frequency consumed our home, consumed how we interacted with each other. And for a long time, I carried that shame like a scarlet letter, even as I rebuilt my life. And I understood that I had to understand that the deepest healing work isn't coming from our relationship with success. It actually comes from our relationship with being seen in our wholeness, including our failures, by the people whose opinions, especially, love us the most. We have to build our relationship with how those opinions affect our wholeness as well. And I had to shift my identity from someone who failed in front of my kids to someone who showed my kids how to rise. And I had to upgrade my energetic blueprint and identity by shifting my perspective about my failures, because my failures weren't character flaws. They were plot twists in my comeback story. And that's what I had to keep telling myself. So if you've failed big like me, and the people that you love have seen you fail and suffer from your failures, and you're wanting to feel safe being seen, one of the ways that you can work through healing those wounds surrounding visibility is by shifting the lens that you see yourself. Now, here's a shift in perspective when it comes to failing. If you have failed big, the magnitude at which you have failed is also the magnitude that you're capable of rising and having success. Both options are available to you. The problem is we feed our attention more so to our capacity to fail than our capacity to succeed, to our capacity to rise. And where our attention goes and is where our energy flows. So in our reliving that past failure, that past trauma, that past trying event, you're unintentionally manifesting that right back into your life. So one of the ways that you can overcome this challenge, if you've been through past painful events like the one I described, is by changing your story and even taking it a step further, using a process called recapitulation. And this is where you change the sequence of events to what you wanted to happen and have an emotional charge with it. So, for example, I shared with you that because I failed with my business, we lost everything and had to start from scratch again in our lives, living in motels and Airbnbs and family members. And instead of reliving this past painful event the way that I have already lived it and having that continue to affect my energy field and relive those moments where I'm also unintentionally feeding into those moments to happen again, where I could attract moments like that to happen again, I see myself succeeding with my business. I see myself keeping the promises that I had made to my girls to travel more, to have more fun because of the success that I've generated in my business. I create the feeling of it already happening. I look at my goals from the perspective of them already being done versus from the perspective of they're going to be done. You see the difference? When you're looking at it from the perspective of it already being done, your brain starts to create a sequence of actions of, okay, this is what we're going to do to navigate to get it to be done. Your brain starts to have something called a confirmation bias, where it looks into your environment and starts to find ways, find evidence to support that it has already been done. And what you need to do is to continue to do that over and over again. See the scenes of you failing in a particular moment of your life and put in what you wish happened and act as if that happened instead. So it's like an additional step to changing your story. It's also changing the memories that are held in your body and allowing your body to then follow suit and create the habits, create the actions, create the momentum as if that painful event is actually a successful event that happened already. And the reason why this works is because your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory that has actually happened and a memory that you have created. It's a visualization technique, yes. However, it's also a way for you to overcome some past painful events that are still affecting you now. So let's take this a little bit more deeper. When you do these types of exercises, the recapitulation exercise where I told you how to retell your story in a way that it was what you wanted to happen, use this exercise for some of the most insurmountable challenges that you have experienced. The ones that where you look up to God and you're like, I need your back. I need you to have my back more than ever right now. Because the more we think about being visible and having recognition and getting to our next level is the problem that we think when it comes to getting to our next level, to receiving more recognition, is that we think it's supposed to be easy. And that if it's not easy, that there must be something inherently wrong with us. There must be something that we're doing wrong. There must be something that we don't have that other people do have. We start to create these limitations, these self-imposed limitations, where we're telling ourselves that there's something not enough about us that's causing us to go through this very hard thing. And we have to shift our perspective with doing the hard things, because these hard things are really portals for us to get to our next level. And it's an opportunity for us to shed the parts of us that cannot go into that next level. And I'm not talking about killing the old self, because I honestly feel like we need to give respect to the old self for getting us to where it got us. Without that version of ourselves, we wouldn't be where we are. I don't believe in that. It's just more about saying, okay, what habits, what things that I know are true about me can come with me and what can't. That's really all it is. And this is where you're invited to embody the frequency of the solution of the problems that you will absolutely go through, the challenges that you will absolutely go through. Because what's happening is your older version of you has a particular energetic blueprint that is fed into by your habits, by your belief systems, by your thoughts, by your emotions. And as you become that version of you that is getting to your next level, you're basically starving that older version of you from all of your energy that you used to feed into it with. All of your beliefs, all of your thoughts, all of your actions, all of your habits, all of those behaviors feed into that old version of you. And as you become and evolve the next level version of you, now you're starving that older version of you and feeding into that next level version of you. So it's almost like you're telling the universe, I'm no longer this person. I'm this newer level, higher level person now that can do hard things and overcome hard challenges. So in starving that older version of you, one of the things that Nero's knowledge will say is that old version of you will say, I want you back. I want all of that energy that used to feed me back. And now I'm going to create some hard crap for you in order to G-check you to make sure that you actually aren't me anymore. And then that's when things start to become hard. Notice that every time you've made some significant leap and some significant decision, some significant challenge is accompanied with it, that's where you are tested to see if you're going to rise to the level of the frequency of the solution or if you're going to stay at the level of the problem. And that's one of the things that Penny Pierce says in her book, Frequency. So if you're in this tug of war, that's why. It's not because you're not capable. It's because they're trying to see. And when I say there, I mean the universe. If you're really ready for what the gifts that they're going to give you. I keep saying there. It's because I also talk about my spiritual team as well. So that being said, this is where you will do for your life only what you see you're capable of doing. So there's a part of you, a self-concept, a self-image, and you can only do at the level of which you see yourself you're capable of doing, what you know yourself to be capable of doing. So if you don't know that you're capable of overcoming some hard challenge in your life, then you're going to act as the version of you that you know, which means that if you don't think you can overcome it, then that's how you're going to act. That's how you'll behave. That's what you'll do. But if you see yourself as the version of you that is capable of overcoming a challenge, then that's what you'll do. So you're always limited to the version of you that you see yourself as. That's why when you work together with me one-on-one to overcome and heal some of these visibility wounds, it's about becoming the version of you that knows that these visibility wounds aren't going to stop you from having the recognition that you deserve, from getting the spotlight that you deserve, from being seen for your gifts. You have to become that version of you that says that these hard things that you've experienced don't limit you to being seen as someone that's worthy of receiving recognition for the gifts that you bring to the world. But you have to know yourself as capable and see yourself as being that version of you that deserves recognition. And this goes to a quote from Shakespeare. It came to me while I was writing this live, and it's from Hamlet, and he says, "To thine own self be true." And this is where Polonius is telling his son Laertes, goodness, I hope I'm saying his name right, how to conduct himself. And that the actions in life that you take are based on what you know to be true about yourself. So until you've embodied the frequency that says what is true about you is that you can do hard things, that you can go through battles, and that you can embody that higher concept where you feed into the higher level version of you, that is where you become the version of you that steps into the spotlight, that steps on bigger stages, and that receives recognition. That's why often when we're about to go through those next level things, once again, you're going to be tested. So when you work together with me one-on-one, one of the things we'll work on is that nervous system regulation part of it as well, where we understand how to feel safe during those moments where that survival frequency starts to percolate again, and we are reminded of some of the painful things that we've gone through when we're about to do that hard thing and we're wondering, oh my gosh, am I going to fail again? No, you don't have to necessarily fail again. I'm not saying that you won't, but you don't have to embody the frequency of failing while overcoming hard things. You can put yourself in a position where you say, okay, I'm going to do every possible thing that I can do to overcome this thing. And knowing that you've done all you can do is better than knowing that you didn't do everything you could. So you'll become that version of yourself that says, I am someone who turns breakdowns into breakthroughs, so that way you can see yourself as worthy of receiving recognition for your gifts. Now, I know that this is for someone that wants their children to be proud of them. Because you want your children to be like, Mom, I know that you're capable. I know that you did it. And, you want them to have no lingering doubt about your capabilities. You want to model what it looks like to transform failure into wisdom, into strength, into purpose. You want to attract opportunities that feel effortless, so that way you can actually have slow, intentional mornings with them. Actually spend some time giving them little nuggets every day, the nuggets that you wish you had. to navigate life. And most importantly, as you step into the spotlight as someone whose story is one of resilience, you become magnetic to the people who are also going through dark times, because you become an example of what it looks like to get to the other side. And remember that your kids are watching you right now. They're forming their beliefs about you based off of what you are capable of doing when you fail. Because failure is inevitable. It's how you handle it. It's knowing that you did everything you could and you modeling that. So even if you were to fail in the spotlight, even if you were to receive recognition and things kind of go awry, how you handle it in that moment and how you overcome it, your kids are watching. And you want to be an example of what it looks like to overcome self-doubt and to allow yourself to believe and know, not even just believe, and know that there's something on the other side of that failure. So reach out to work with me one-on-one so we can heal your visibility wounds, so you can feel safe being seen and receive recognition for the success that you generate by the people that you love, even if they've seen you fail. And imagine that your people will be grateful, the people that you love, being grateful that you did it, because your failures aren't disqualifications. They're not telling you that you are not credible or not qualified. The person, the version of you that lost everything and rebuilt from nothing is exactly who your soul clients need you to be. It's exactly what your soul-led opportunities need you to be. Because when you stop hiding from your failures and start leading with it, you become irresistible to everyone who needs proof that comeback is possible. So reach out to work with me one-on-one, and I will see you later. I'm going to go take my baby girl to her high school summer class.